What happens when Hollywood's most legendary action hero meets daytime television's most controversial panel? You won't believe what unfolds when Harrison Ford sits down with the hosts of The View for what was supposed to be a simple promotional appearance. The tension in that studio was so thick you could cut it with a knife. And by the end of this explosive confrontation, one of cinema's biggest stars would be walking off the set in disgust. It all began when Harrison Ford arrived at the View studio yesterday morning, ostensibly to promote his latest project. The 81-year-old actor, known for his no-nonsense attitude and fierce sense of privacy, seemed relaxed as he settled into the guest chair. The audience buzzed with excitement. After all, it's not every day you see Han Solo and Indiana Jones in person. But nobody in that room could have predicted how quickly this appearance would spiral into one of the most heated moments in the show's history. Joy Behar, never one to shy away from controversy, opened with a deceptively light question. Harrison, you've been in Hollywood for decades, and you've seen a lot of changes. What do you think about all these young actors today speaking out about politics? Don't you think celebrities should just stick to entertaining? It sounded harmless enough, but anyone familiar with her style knew she was baiting him. Ford shifted in his seat, irritation flickering across his face. I think everyone has a right to their opinion, Joy. That's what makes this country great. But Behar wasn't satisfied. She leaned forward, her tone sharpening. Come on, Harrison. You've been quiet about politics your whole career. Some might call that privileged silence. Don't you think actors with your platform have a responsibility to speak out? The other hosts exchanged uneasy glances. Whoopi Goldberg looked like she already regretted where this was going. Sarah Haynes attempted to jump in with a lighter question, but Behar bulldozed right over her. Let's be honest, she continued. You've made millions playing American heroes on screen, but where's that heroism when it comes to real issues affecting real Americans? Ford's jaw tightened. He did not appreciate being cornered, especially not on Lev TV. I've always believed actions speak louder than words. I've supported various causes throughout my career, just not always publicly. Oh, one of those quiet philanthropists. Behar shot back, using air quotes. How convenient. You get to keep your reputation clean while staying above the fray. The tension thickened. Ford's publicist looked alarmed. Alyssa Farah Griffin tried to steer things back to safer territory. Harrison, can we talk about your experience working with younger actors? But Behar cut her off again. Wet, I'm not done. You've worked with people like Harvey Weinstein. You were part of the old boys club. Don't you think it's time for some accountability? The studio went dead silent. Ford's irritation shifted into something far darker. I think you're way out of line, Joy, he said, voice low and icy. You're making assumptions about my character and my career that are completely unfounded. Behar, sensing ratings gold, pushed even harder. Am I? You've been silent about the FIMA2 movement, political corruption, social justice. Ford leaned forward, intensity radiating off him. You sit here every day throwing stones from your glass house. You want to talk about accountability? How about the accountability of journalists who ambush guests with accusations instead of asking real questions? Behar gave a brittle laugh. This is called journalism, Harrison. These are real questions, not the softball interviews you're used to. Ford's patience snapped. You call character assassination real questions? He shot back. You call baseless accusations about someone's integrity journalism? The audience was frozen. This was no longer entertainment. It was something raw and deeply uncomfortable. Behar, unable to back down, pushed again. If you can't handle tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. That was the breaking point. You know what, Joy? Ford said, voice like a blade. I've been in this business for 50 years, and I've dealt with difficult people. But you're something else entirely. The room shifted. Even Behar seemed rattled for the first time. I'm just doing my job, she snapped. Tough questions. Ford barked. Ambushing someone with accusations isn't journalism. Making up narratives about someone's character isn't professionalism. That's what destroys reputations based on speculation and innuendo. The hosts were in full panic. Whoopi gestured frantically to producers to cut to commercial. Sarah Haynes looked like she might cry. Even Sonny Hostin, normally eager for conflict, sat stiff and silent. Ford wasn't finished. I've never claimed to be perfect. But I've spent my entire career trying to be a decent person, trying to do right by the people I work with, trying to use whatever influence I have for good. And you sit here and try to tear that down based on nothing but your assumptions and your political agenda. Bihar's face turned red. My political agenda. You're the one hiding behind your movie star image while real issues. Real issues? Ford erupted, standing so fast his chair nearly toppled. You think real issues are settled by ambushing people on television? The audience gasped. Several people in the front row recoiled from the sheer force of his reaction. Alyssa Farah Griffin made one final attempt to calm the situation. Harrison, maybe we should take a step back. It's getting a little heated. A little heated. Ford snapped, turning toward her, eyes blazing. Your colleague just spent the last several minutes trying to destroy my reputation on live television, Ford said sharply. And you think this is just a little heated? Whoopi Goldberg finally found her voice, attempting to assert some control over the chaos. Harrison, we need to lower the temperature here. This isn't productive for anyone. But Ford was far past restraint. He turned back toward Joy Behar, pointing an accusatory finger directly at her. You know what's not productive, Whoopi? Allowing people like her to use this platform to spread lies and innuendo about decent people. You know what's not productive? Giving bullies a microphone and calling it journalism. Bullies. Behar snapped, her tone defensive and trembling. I'm not a bully, Harrison. I'm asking the hard questions that need to be asked. Hard questions. Ford's voice rose until it echoed across the entire studio. You want to know what a hard question is, Joy? Here's one. How do you sleep at night knowing you make a living destroying people's reputations? The other hosts were now openly panicking. Sarah Haynes was crying, overwhelmed by the intensity of the confrontation. Sunny Hostin stared fixedly at the table, wishing she could vanish. Even the audience had begun murmuring nervously, with some people quietly slipping out of the studio. Ford continued, years of pent-up frustration boiling over. You sit here every day and tear people down. You make assumptions, spread gossip, and destroy careers based on your own prejudices and political beliefs. And you call it journalism. Behar, clearly overwhelmed but too proud to retreat, attempted once more to regain control. Harrison, you're being completely unreasonable. These are legitimate. Legitimate. Ford cut her off, his voice dropping to a cold, dangerous whisper. There is nothing legitimate about what you do, Joy. You're a vulture feeding on other people's pain, and you've convinced yourself it's some kind of public service. The studio fell completely silent except for Ford's heavy breathing and Sarah Haynes quietly sobbing. Even the production crew seemed frozen, unsure whether to keep filming or cut the feed. Ford surveyed the room slowly, the hosts, the audience, the stunned crew. When he spoke again, his voice was steady but filled with contempt. You know what the tragedy is. You had a chance to have a real conversation. You could have asked me about my work, about acting, about the projects I'm passionate about. Instead, you turned this into a character assassination. He glared at Joy one final time, and you wonder why so many people refuse to do interviews anymore. This is why, Joy. This is exactly why. The tension in the studio teetered on its breaking point. Ford was visibly struggling to rein in the fury that had been building throughout the interview, while Behar sat in stunned silence, finally recognizing that her tactics had backfired spectacularly. Ford drew a deep breath. When he looked back at Behar, the fury had cooled into something far more unsettling, icy, deliberate disgust. You know what, Joy, he said, voice eerily calm. I've wasted enough time here. I came on this show as a courtesy to talk about my work and connect with fans. But you made it clear that's not what you're interested in. He began removing his microphone with deliberate finality. Gasps rippled through the studio as everyone realized what was happening. Harrison Ford, one of the biggest stars in the world, was about to walk out on live television. Harrison, please, Whoopi pleaded. Let's just take a breath. We can start over. Start over. Ford let out a bitter laugh as he dropped the microphone onto the table with a sharp clatter. There's no starting over from this, Whoopi. Your colleague just spent 15 minutes trying to destroy my reputation, and you all sat there and let it happen. The audience dissolved into chaos, some standing for a better look, others covering their mouths, a handful actually applauding. Through tears, Sarah Haynes made one last desperate attempt. "Harrison, we're sorry if things got out of hand." "Maybe we can." "Out of hand." Ford cut in sharply. "This wasn't an accident, Sarah. This was a deliberate ambush. She came in with an agenda and you all knew it." Behar, backed into a corner but still refusing to yield, spoke again. "Harrison, you're being dramatic. This is what interviews look like when someone asks real questions instead of just promoting your movie." Her words landed like a slap. Ford froze mid-stride, turned, and faced her directly. His expression was genuinely frightening. "Real questions," he repeated softly, each syllable cutting through the silent studio. "You think destroying someone's character on live television is a real question?" He walked back toward the desk, and the studio held its breath. Leaning down, fixing Behar with a steely gaze, he said, "Let me tell you what real questions look like, Joy. Real questions are about craft, about experience, about the work itself. Real questions come from curiosity and respect, not a manufactured desire to provoke controversy for ratings." Behar opened her mouth, but he silenced her with a raised hand. "What you did today wasn't journalism. It was character assassination dressed up as journalism. And the fact that you cannot see the difference is precisely what's wrong with this business." Ford straightened, addressing the entire studio. "I've been in this business longer than some of you have been alive. I've watched it change, evolve, and now deteriorate. But I've never seen anything quite like what happened here today. The cameras captured everything, every gesture, every breath. This wasn't a meltdown. It was a man defending his dignity against manufactured spectacle. You could have asked about filmmaking, about working with different directors, about staying relevant in a changing industry. Instead, you chose a hit piece." His voice strengthened, carrying the weight of decades. "And do you know what's truly unfortunate? Millions of people watching deserve real conversations, real insight. Instead, they get this circus." He faced Behar one last time. "I hope this was worth it. I hope whatever ratings spike you're chasing was worth the credibility you just threw away." Behar's face flushed crimson. "You can't talk to me like that. You can't come on my show and—" "My show," Ford snapped. "This isn't your show. It's supposed to be a platform for meaningful conversation. You turned it into a circus, and I refuse to be part of it." With that, he turned and walked toward the exit. But halfway there, he stopped and faced the cameras directly. "To everyone watching at home," he said, calm and resolute, "this is what passes for journalism in some circles today, when ego and agenda matter more than truth and respect." The studio was so silent that his next breath was audible. "I've had the privilege of playing characters that meant something to people, of working with extraordinary talent. But I will not sit here and allow my character and integrity to be attacked for the sake of entertainment." He walked out, leaving behind a panel in total disarray and an audience stunned into silence. The cameras lingered on the hosts, Joy frozen in shock, Whoopi shaking her head, Sarah still crying, Sunny wishing she could disappear, before cutting to a shaky commercial break. What should have been a routine promotional interview had become one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. Harrison Ford had walked out, but he had done so with dignity, self-respect, and a refusal to participate in manufactured controversy. The clip would go viral within hours, and The View would be dealing with the fallout for months. Who do you think was right in this argument? Comment below.